It was a rainy Saturday evening when I found myself at my aunt's house, sitting quietly in the living room, my gaze shifting from the window to the stillness of the house. My uncle, who had always been a figure of strength and reliability in our family, had been off lately, distant even. For weeks, I noticed little things. My aunt had been quieter, her smiles forced. She was still the caring woman she had always been, but I could sense a weight on her shoulders. One evening, I happened to pass by the kitchen where I overheard a muffled conversation between my aunt and my cousin. They were speaking in hushed tones, but what caught my attention was the word affair. The realization hit me like a lightning bolt. My uncle, the man I had admired all my life, was hiding a secret that could tear their world apart. The next few days, I watched my aunt with a heightened sense of awareness. She was still oblivious to the truth, believing in her marriage, the life they had built together. But in my heart, I knew there was more to the story. Then came that night. My uncle had gone to bed early, claiming he was exhausted from work. I, however, couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I found myself pacing in the hallway, thinking about what I had overheard and wondering if I should confront him. It was then that I noticed his phone on the table next to his bed, something I had never seen before. It was face up, the screen lit up, a message notification from someone named S. The name rang a bell. I had heard my uncle mention someone with an initial like that in passing, but I never thought much of it. I couldn't resist. I picked up the phone. The messages were unmistakable, texts filled with intimacy, longing, and promises of secrecy. There were no doubts now. My uncle was having an affair. My heart raced. The betrayal was evident, but as I stared at the glowing screen, I felt a strange mix of emotions. I wasn't just angry. I felt sorrow for my aunt. Her loyalty, her trust, and her devotion were now shattered. But more than that, I felt conflicted. My uncle was someone I had always looked up to, but now I was confronted with a man who had secretly hurt the person he loved. I thought about my aunt, asleep in the other room, utterly unaware of the storm that was about to hit. I thought about the life they had built, the vacations, the late-night talks, the laughter over family dinners. It was all built on lies. The weight of it all felt unbearable. I knew this discovery would change everything. It wasn't just the affair I was dealing with. It was the unraveling of a family, the questioning of everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and commitment. The emotional turmoil was overwhelming. My internal battle was fierce. Should I tell my aunt, or should I keep this secret for fear of the consequences? In the end, I decided to take the harder path. I confronted my uncle. His reaction wasn't what I expected. He was caught off guard, but the guilt was written all over his face. He didn't deny it. He explained that the affair had started as an emotional connection, something he felt was missing in his marriage, but over time it escalated. He begged me not to tell my aunt immediately, asking for time to fix things. But how could I reconcile the man I admired with the one who had betrayed his wife? The betrayal was more than just about infidelity. It was about breaking the unspoken trust that held a family together. The next morning, I sat down with my aunt. Telling her was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Her face went pale, and the tears that followed spoke louder than any words I could say. She was heartbroken, not just because of the affair, but because she realized that the man she trusted had been hiding pieces of himself from her for so long. The aftermath was complicated. My aunt needed time to process everything. My uncle, overwhelmed with guilt, tried to patch things up, but the damage was done. The trust had been shattered, and though they tried therapy and communication, they both knew something was irreparably lost. The journey was long, marked by tearful nights, awkward silences, and attempts to rebuild, but the weight of the betrayal was always there. No matter how hard they tried, the relationship was never the same. The emotional scar left by the affair was something they couldn't simply erase. As the days passed, life in the house seemed to fall into a quiet, uncomfortable rhythm. My aunt, though still in shock, began to process the truth. She was no longer the vibrant, carefree woman I had known. She was quieter, more reserved, as if the very essence of her confidence had been drained by the weight of betrayal. My uncle, on the other hand, appeared to be living in a state of perpetual remorse. He would spend long hours pacing around the house, staring at the walls, clearly consumed by guilt. But the most difficult part for me was witnessing the strained tension that hung between them. It wasn't just the two of them anymore, it was the entire family, and it felt like a slow collapse. I couldn't escape the feeling that something fundamental had changed, even if we were all pretending it hadn't. One evening, my aunt finally agreed to go out with me for a coffee. She had been avoiding me for the past few days, almost as if she didn't want to talk about what had happened. But I could tell she needed to say something, anything. We sat at a small cafe, the faint hum of chatter in the background, and the steam from our mugs fogging up the air. After several long moments of silence, she finally spoke. "How do you think I should feel about him?" Her voice was shaky, but there was also a certain steadiness beneath the tremor. "I keep thinking that if I could just find a way to forgive him, then maybe things would go back to how they were. But it's hard to even look at him now without feeling like I don't know who he is anymore." I didn't have an answer for her, though I could feel the rawness of her pain. I could see the battle she was fighting in her eyes. My aunt had always been the strong, unshakable figure in our family, the one who always knew how to make things right, how to guide everyone through life's hardships. But now, she was the one who needed guidance, the one who had to rebuild her life from the shattered pieces of trust. "I don't know, Aunt. I really don't," I said softly. "But I can't imagine what you're going through. I think for you, the hardest thing might be not just the betrayal, but the fact that you thought you had this life together, this perfect life. And now it feels like everything was a lie."